Hi guys, welcome to our YouTube channel Audio Books. Now you are listening Madol Doova chapter 3. How I went to sea. In 2 weeks all my classmates except one made friends with me. Only the boy who called me Galibba. On the first day kept aloof. I liked going to school because of all my new friends, but I still hated having to study. Our books were full of tiresome old saying and difficult words. Mr. Dharmasinghe was deadly serious all the time and looked as if he was carrying some burden on his shoulders. Somalatha and Gunadasa became quite fond of me. When they saw how much I liked playing out of doors. When Mr. Dharmasinghe saw that we ran out of the house to play as soon as we got home from school, he began trying to interfere. That's enough. You'd better do your homework now. He would shout 2 or 3 times every afternoon. There were times when we stopped only when he threatened to punish us. After 3 or 4 months of this, Mrs. Dharmasinghe began to keep Somalatha and Gunadasa away from me. He think of nothing but playing, I heard her say. When she saw us running and jumping in the front yard, she would come out to the veranda to shout, "Don't run so fast, Somalatha, you'll fall." When we played in the sand, she called out, "Don't kick up the dust, you'll get sores all over you." When I throw a stone at an iguana, she rarely failed to shout out, "Don't be so cruel to animals, child." When we ran into the thickets nearby, it was, "You stay here, Somalatha, the nettles will sting you." If we went to the gate, it was, "Don't you go out, there are car goings down that road." But how often did cars pass by? About once a week. We sat together to dinner. "Don't chew so noisily," Mr. Dharmasinghe kept saying, staring at me. "Don't talk so loudly at table," he warned Gunadasa. "And don't make such a mess of your fingers. You should only use the tips of your fingers to mix your rice and curry. There shouldn't be anything on your fingers above the 2nd digit." The moment Somalatha heard him say this, she began to knead her food with her whole hand. When her parents forbade something, she did it even more energetically. Mr. Dharmasinghe preaching annoyed me no end. I felt very guilty about it until I was relieved to find that Somalatha and Gunadasa thought exactly as I did. "I feel the mashing all the rice up when he goes on like that about it," said Gunadasa. "It is so bad to laugh at the table?" asked Somalatha. "I don't know really. I suppose it is." Every full moon day we were made a recite from the Pali scriptures and learn some stanzas by heart. Sometimes Mr. Dharmasinghe translated them into Sinhala and explained them to us. I understood the stanzas about killing, lying and stealing perfectly. But there were no one or two that defeated me completely. Mr. Dharmasinghe lost his temper when he couldn't make us understand the third precept, even though he went back to it month after month. I was able to learn the verses off by heart quite easily, but Gunadasa and Somalatha were hopeless. I will endeavour to refrain from unlawful sexual relationships, Mr. Dharmasinghe repeated. We said the word after him in chorus. You know the meaning of I will refrain from unlawful sexual relationships, don't you? Mr. Dharmasinghe asked, looking at me. It was Greek to me. The headmaster always translated these precepts with downcast eyes. Sometimes he looked at me, but never at his own child. If his wife was there, she always left us hurriedly at this point. I began to feel that this was some foul obscenity put into words that we could never understand. It is a deadly sin. Young as you are, you must make up your mind never to fall into it, said Mr. Dharmasinghe. What is a deadly sin? I asked. I'll explain some other time, said Mr. Dharmasinghe, getting up from chair and becoming very busy about something. What does refraining from unlawful sexual relationships mean? How should we avoid it? Gunadasa asked me. I don't know. It must be something really filthy, I said. There were lots of toads and frogs in the ditches on either side of the house. 9 times out of 10, if you turn over a stone, you would find a toad under it. Sometimes, after a sudden shower, swarms of meru fluttered about the garden, and the frogs would come out to jump at the meru and swallow them whole. One Sunday evening, we were catching small frogs by turning over a stone in the garden. We got 4 little frogs into a coconut shell and put another shell over it as a lid. We took them to my room and let them go. Hey, said Somalatha, running out of the door. Let's have some fun, I suggest. We took the frogs into the dining room, put them on the table and covered them with a flat clay hutty. Mother will thrash us, said Gunadasa. It was soon time for tea. There was a plate of Halpe and a bunch of ripe plantains on a white plate and, of course, our hutty. Gunadasa looked at me furtively. I could see he was scared. Somalatha was trying to hide an impish smile. What's under this? Said Mr. Dharmasinghe, lifting the hutty. What? He jumped away from the table, dropping the hutty. It smashed to the floor, breaking into 1,000 pieces. There were frogs all over the table. Somalatha burst out laughing. Gunadasa was too frightened to laugh. Mr. Dharmasinghe slapped Somalatha and she ran to her room crying. He dragged Gunadasa to the children's room, flung him in and locked the door. He caught me by the ear and pushed me into the other room. I heard him lock the door and take away the key. There was a small connecting door between the rooms. I called Somalata through the keyhole, and they both came running to the door. "Can't you get in here?" they begged. "How can I? The door is locked and there's no key." "The key was lost long ago. Try to break the lock," said Gunadasa. "Too difficult. Wait, I'll try something else." I searched the room carefully. I found a screwdriver in the drawer of a rickety old table, and I tried it on the screws holding the hinges. They wouldn't budge. I tried tapping on the hinges. "What are you doing?" they asked. "Quiet." Luckily, there was a little coconut oil in a bottle in a corner. I put some oil around the screws of the top hinges and tried again. I had to try 5 times before I managed to get the screw off. I put the table against the door to hold it up and then pulled it back slowly. The other hinges began to give away. I got a pillow from the bed and laid it on the floor by the door, and then pulled the door away. The hinges gave and the door came down without a sound on the pillow. Somalata ran across the door as if it were a bridge, and then ran back again, enjoying this new game. I went into the other room. Somalata hugged me in her excitement. I tried Mr. Dharmasinghe's almari. It was locked. "The key is in the drawer," said Somalata, pulling out the long drawer below the doors. "Let's have some fun," I said. "What?" "We'll make a swing." "Where's the rope?" "We'll tie some of these together," I said, pulling out a couple of tablecloths. "Mother is sure to beat us," said Somalata. "We'll put them back before she comes in." I pulled out 2 tablecloths and 2 of Mrs. Dharmasinghe's saris and tied them end to end. I got Gunadasa to hold one end while I twisted them into a rope. Then we brought out Gunadasa's desk and put a chair on it. Gunadasa held the chair by the legs while I climbed on to it and tied the ends of the rope we had made to a rafter. We had put Somalata on the swing and were pushing her when Mrs. Dharmasinghe came in. "Apoi!" she shouted, running to the door lying on the floor. "Who did this? Even the hinges. Which of you did this?" Then she saw the swing. "Apoi! 2 of my saris ruined and 2 tablecloths. What have you done?" She grabbed Somalata and Gunadas and dragged them away, growling at me. "The boy is a real Porisadaya. If he stays here much longer, there'll be nothing left of the house." She made so much noise that Mr. Dharmasinghe came running in. He stopped aghast, staring, holding his head with his hand. He pulled my ears and shook me violently and slapped me left and right. He let me go only to run for the cane. I ran out of the room, through the kitchen, and out through the back door. There wasn't time to make for the gate. I ran to the back fence and jumped over it to escape the headmaster. When I didn't return home that night, Mr. Dharmasinghe began to search for me with some men. I watched them looking into thickets, nooks and corners. Before they reached one hanging place, I crept away to another. I heard later that they had scoured every lane, backyard and thicket. Mr. Dharmasinghe had been heard telling his wife over and over again, "If that scamp has an accident, I will have to answer for it." I watched the search party returning home after their unsuccessful expedition. They went out again after dinner. I heard them talking about looking for me along the seashore and in the bazaar next. And so I stayed children in the woods until they had gone to the seashore. When they went off towards the bazaar, I went down to the beach. The moonlight beach and a sky were beautiful. Some fishermen came down to the beach with their oars, torches and sacks and set off to sea in two of the canoes. They were going to the reef where they would light their torches and fish all night. I climbed into one of the big sea-going boats drawn up on the beach and lay in the stern. I could hear the murmuring of the sea and the talk of two more fishermen who had come down to their boat. Lulled by the sea breeze, I soon went to sleep. I was awakened by the rocking of the boat. The sun had risen. I heard the creaking and the sound of voices. "Menna bang, there's someone here." I felt something move under my feet. I found two eyes staring down at me out of a beard face. I couldn't think where I was, and I jumped to my feet. "Menna, there's a boy in the boat." "A boy?" "Deyosaki," cried the helmsman, opening his eyes wide in amazement. The fishermen hadn't seen me till then because they had set off before dawn. What mischief could he have been up to? "We're too far out now. We can't go back now to put him ashore. Would lose our fishing today." "Throw the rascal into the sea and let's keep going," said one of the oarsmen angrily. "Why, that's the boarder at the headmaster's," said another man. I was relieved that someone had recognized me. "That schoolmaster is a miserly old kuna," said another. "You can't have to take me back," I said. "Let me come with you. I'll do whatever you say. I'll do any work you want. I'm not scared." "He's a tough nut, all right," said the man who had wanted to throw me into the sea. The helmsman had to decide. It was obvious that there wasn't enough time to take me back and get back to their fishing. "The boy isn't scared. Let him come with us to the Hantan," said the man who had recognized me.